Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Sean Kelly Into the Night. We're going to have a great show tonight. I got my good friend Michael Anthony on, America Mike, and we're going to be divulging into some stuff. You know, it's always a great pleasure to have Mike on my show. I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. For allowing me to give you this hour. And also, I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring the hour show. Good evening to you, Sebastian Moran, and good evening, Holly. Hey, it's good to see you guys 2 nights in a row. This is great. With you all know Mike. You know, without further ado, it is my friend Mike Anthony. And how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing very, very well. Hello, America, and everywhere beyond. I hope everyone's well. I hope you had a great holiday weekend and you got to celebrate it the way you saw fit to do so, because everyone has their own way. But thank you for joining in. Please like and share. You know, me and Sean try to get a vibe going. We don't know what we're going to talk about tonight.
No, we don't.
I mean, we really don't. Maybe we're going to both get alien abducted and the screen will turn black shortly. I don't know. But Sean, I'm happy to be here as always. And thank you for having me. You know, you're a very special person in my heart, and we're friends, and I really enjoy coming on, hanging out with you. And if you guys have anything on your minds, hey, maybe you'll open up ours. Talk about it.
Yeah, think about it. Cindy, hello. Good to see you. Holly, Sebastian, you got something to talk about? Anybody out there in the chat room, you know, who's watching the show today, you know what? Bring it up. We'll talk about anything. So,
hey, can I start off with something that's got me irking a little bit, and I'll be kind.
Sure
I'll be kind.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So you know, I study math and ancient geometry and all this stuff, and I'm watching these IFOTs on media, social media, and media outlet news this morning, and they're trying to describe how we're only 27% up in prices. And I'm like 27% up. What, from last month? Hey, Beth McCord, how are you?
Hey, Beth, good to see you, sweetie.
Yeah, see what you can do about putting this maybe in some of the political outlook groups, messenger groups we have. But anyway, so they're trying to say we're only up 27%, and I swear to everybody. Jesus, what the hell was that? I got a ghost in the other room. I don't know what that is.
I'm telling you, you got him in there. You got him.
It's like, you know, I'm like, what the? I mean, it's dark. I don't know, whatever. So, you know, I mean, I know I'm paying double and triple for a lot of items, and they have the audacity to think that we're that stupid. Well, maybe people just aren't paying attention, and they're just, you know, running their jaws, flapping them. I don't know. So I wanted to bring that up because it doesn't add up in any way, shape, or form. Because, you know, I'm like the summer guy that eats a lot of salads. I buy the same regimen of things. I really do. I don't know why. I think in my head I'm a healthy nut or trying to be. But I seen where they've increased at least threefold over what I used to get. I used to buy a head of lettuce for 89 cents to $1.19, and now they're as high as $2.99 a head.
Yeah.
Just everything has really jumped astronomically, but yet they keep force feeding us like open wide. Take
Yes. Paulie says they keep charging you more for less, and that's the truth. A big
shrinkflation.
thing of
Yes.
you were talking about the meat. Well, of course, you all know that I work in the supermarket, and I remember last year at this time, okay, filet mignon steaks, filet mignon were like $14.99 for steaks. Okay, that's still pretty high. They are charging now $23.99
Is that
for
Australian beef?
no, that's Angus,
For real Angus. I guess I
real
don't
Angus.
I don't I don't know if that's good or bad, Sean, because all I've been seeing lately is and shop and saves and market districts around here. It's very similar stores, different criterias of levels of wealth of who they are, but um, a lot of them are doing that 9.99 short tenderloin.
Yeah, and that
Like
they're
you
the ones.
have, you have
Those are the runs from Australia, dude, and
yeah,
they suck, and they're bad.
and
They're,
they suck.
yeah,
Did you say and they thuck? Thuck?
they suck.
Suck.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say that F word. No,
No, I didn't say it either. I was saying
I know it did sounded like that though,
I
but
know. I was like, whoa.
they're terrible, dude. They are
Head to
so.
pray. All right. So like a few weeks ago, also, man, something else that I thought it was just like I was rolling in my shoes for a minute. AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene and that black woman. I can't think of her name. No disrespect to her. I just can't think of her name. And it was like a cat fight.
Yes,
Did you see that?
yes, I
I
did.
mean, the claws were out, the eyelashes, the bleached blonde hair. I mean, come on. I mean, well, maybe that's a good feature of fact that they are not they are not adversaries, they're rivalries. Going
Yes,
on up there. That there are a difference of opinions, and people are fed up and sick of everything they're seeing. The same as like what we're seeing, going on with Trump and what's going on there. On the Trump trail, though, and the verdict and the closing statements were supposed to come in today. Now, I couldn't follow it. And it's all about the hush money and Stormy Gag Daniels. Excuse me for saying that, but I just had to throw it in. But yeah, so it's all in the hands of a Manhattan jury on the 34 counts. And you know what? The truth of the matter is, and I haven't heard any outcome on it. I really haven't, not even to this moment. A 4-year imprisonment could be applied into not only that, but fines and more. And what happened to attorney-client privilege? I mean, bringing.
you're in New York City, Mike. Come on, they can do whatever the hell they want to do there.
Well, you know what? Years ago, you couldn't testify against a spouse.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was a law, a provision in law. And also it goes about, confidentiality between patient and doctor. Even though doctors only practice medicine, none of them are a genius at it. They have to
Right.
take the information and kind of like play the guessing game. So they're only practicing. But like in this case here, sharing informations and being an advisory to one's information has to stay confidential. And it doesn't seem like that's anymore. And I wonder what they may have had on Gomer Powell's nephew. I wonder what they may have had on him.
Well, what are you talking about? I never heard of that story, bud.
Which one?
Gomer Powell?
Gomer Powell's nephew, the attorney for Trump that they brought in to testify.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Did you ever not look at them side by side?
Yeah.
It's like Epstein and the president. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But you know what? You were talking about the verdict today. Now I saw a couple things where he was found not guilty. I
didn't. Well, I worked all day. I didn't.
Right.
That's news to me. Not guilty on all counts.
That's what I saw on a couple TikTok thingies that I saw on social media. But you got to take that crap with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
But you know what? I kind of called that though weeks ago when I think I did even the show with you. I said if they find him guilty, they can charge even Clinton for the $800,000 that he paid out many years ago.
True.
And they could bring up a lot of other, let's just say, things swept under the rug into the light
Right.
and charge a lot of people. So I said, if anything happened to him, in my viewpoint, they would have to protect him somehow. And even when Trump said, and I don't know how far you want to go into politics here, even when
Not
Trump,
really well. We just dropped. We just dropped down to one dude.
oh, did we? See, I told
Yes.
you that happens a lot. I told you that
Yes.
happens a lot. So we can change topic.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I mean, it's sad that we are where we are, but Trump himself says no president should be held accountable for his actions while in office.
Right.
That told me the whole story right there on what the outcome, what the a probability of outcome might be. Now, everyone
Right.
get back in here. We're not going to talk
Yeah.
about the, I
No,
tried
this.
to tell you, ufology and things. People want to know about all that. Ugh, woo. They really want to know about the woo.
And the woo's coming pretty soon, I think. Now, I had a paranormal experience in my house today, dude. Even my mom witnessed it too. So we're sitting in there, we're watching TV, and our dining room lights were off. Okay. All of a sudden, they started coming on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. And I was like, my mom's like, that's your dad. That's your dad distracting us.
Or
And
you got a chipmunk in a wall.
no, there's no, see, if she didn't know about paranormal or ghosts or whatever that, she'd probably be calling the electrician. So let me ask you this, Mike.
Mhm.
What do you think is going on? Have you seen the paranormal community, the paranormal field, the cryptid field, the Bigfoot field? It's just like doing a complete 180 and more egos than there are professionals.
Well, sad to say, it's like so many other things. I do believe that in many cases, a lot of people just feel that they can make change in their life and do some of the things that other people are doing, and I take my hat off to those. Um, but there are some people out there that kind of like you know do it another way, um, to try to create something. I hear a lot of stories. Some of them I just have to wonder about. I hear a lot of particulars in stories. The characteristics don't line up always the way the characteristics do line up, and the ones that
Hmm.
we can get the more factual information from. But then people get on that trail, and in many ways, they go out and they find sticks and stones their whole life, and sometimes not even a footprint. Sometimes maybe they do, and sometimes they buy plaster casts. So of things, and it's pretty sad as to what you just said, because you're getting two sides of it and you don't know who's really real, but everybody's going to be the biggest guy in the game.
Right, exactly. Now, Beth McCord said, sorry, I'm here, guys. She was sharing this show, which is good. And Holly comes back and says, the other day, my lamp kept flickering, and I said out loud, what do you want? And it stopped flickering. I guess they were happy I acknowledged them. And that's the truth, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially,
that's
especially
interesting.
that light bulb above your number 10 there. Last night, it was like going crazy. It was going off and on. But yeah, I enjoy having you on and just looking in your background. And I look for ghostly shadows that walk behind you and stuff
Well,
like that.
you got to look back. There is where he hangs out.
Is that
And
where he
right where
hangs
you
out?
come down the long stairwell and stairs, and you make the corner to come into here, because that's the pool table room. The media room's off to the left, and this is my studio space. It's way too big for what I do. I don't need it all, but yeah. When my girls were very young, we I shared some of this with you. They
Yeah.
always said that they seen like the shadow. I don't know that they called it shadow man, shadow woman, a shadow, a black something, I haven't myself being alone 90% of the time in many parts of the home, and it's not that big, but it's divided in a different kinds of ways. um I've never really experienced anything. I at times thought I heard like a voice or a sound of like a dog chain, and it was like, huh, that was interesting. Why a dog? Yeah, but anyway, I showed you also a lot of some of the pictures
Yes.
of a lot of the don't know what that shit is out there,
The one video you did share to me, I mean, I'm going on record to say straight out that that was a ghost. That was a spirit. That was a that would have been a grade A video for paranormal investigating. That was legit, no doubt. A lot of your pictures were legit. I mean,
Yeah, it's really strange, and whatever it was a mass and size. You talking about the one with the cat that went through?
yes, yes,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've even often questioned that, like, how far into the city are they amongst us? Because it kind of resembled itself to have such a massive frame. In
right.
my head, is it something that's just that large, or is it big? But I mean, who knows? Because
Well,
to
you
me,
know what?
it had that kind of
If
figure.
if you look at it, right, a lot of spirits think that a lot of people think that the spirits that are hanging around their house, they believe that it could be a family member. But 95% of the time, and I'm going 95%, it's not so much the house that is being haunted, it is the land that the house is on that is haunted. Okay. Like a good friend's up in Penn Trafford, there's like a cul-de-sac called Brand New Homes, right? And
Hmm.
Penn Trafford's up there near Bushy Run Battlefield. And we did up the houses. We did 4 or 5 houses in this cul-de-sac. And they were like, it was just like the same spirits going in and out. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so we finally put two and two together, and it was like, it's no neighbor, it's no friend or family member. It is the people who actually were there before them houses were built.
Yeah, you
Jeannie
don't.
Buckley says hello.
Yeah, hi Jeannie. Hi everybody. Sorry if we blew your fuse talking a little politics in
Yeah.
the segment coming in. We know a lot of people are getting like frustrated and tired
Yes.
of all that social media BS. But yeah, I just want to talk about prices for a second because I feel so bad for so many people. But getting back to some of that kind of stuff. When I was real young, I had the privilege to, be in touch with some really good people. And there was a specific spot that called Woodbury that interested me. And why it interested me was because of somebody of significance. I mean, high significance, huge, huge in today's world of paranormal ufology, theology, everything. Jacques Vallée.
Okay.
And not everybody gets to rub an elbow with a guy like that.
Mm-mm.
And
Right.
he was very thorough in his work. And some of the most shocking things were, and I really wish I knew where this information was. I once upon a time got wind that someone else that was there was writing a book or articles on some of the encounters of these two parcels of ground. And what Jacques was able to find out and actually even get on film were physical portals. I mean,
Right.
he is the one, just like a guest I had on the other night. He was the one, Jim Goodall, who started and opened a public investigation to expose Area 51. While the world was saying it didn't exist. And then one day, Obama, 35 years later, says, oh, yeah, there is an Area 51, by the way. Well, imagine that. But Jacques Vallée went out on some of the most credible cases. He wasn't afraid to spend his own money. And if you don't know who he is, I suggest to people to look up and check out some of his history. But what he was able to prove, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, would have dropped your jaws on some of the findings that occurred in Woodbury. And I just wanted to bring that up because it's a fascinating story. And I personally know that there's 100% in truth to it.
Okay.
And sometimes if you talk to the right people and you're nice enough to them, they will talk back to you. They will invite you. And I might be going to Belize. I don't know. I might be going to hunt inside the pyramids. Well, I told Jim, I says, hey, I'll be your water boy. I'll go. And he told me, he says, hey, Jimmy Church is going. I was like, well, he has to go. And I'm like, but Jimmy won't. He's a, and this is Jimmy's words. In case this gets back to him, know that I'm saying your words. You're afraid of small spaces. How are you going to help anything crawling in?
I'm just like Jimmy because I can't deal with it. I get claustrophobic. I got it.
And imagine it in the pitch black going in, finding the way into the pyramid and having to go into it and, not knowing what to expect. I mean, except for the fact that, I'm sure the air's going to feel cold. You're probably going to pick up smells that are just ancient. I don't know what it would look like, but Jim was able to tell me and share with me that Site G is on the map as one of the ones that were never touched, I believe he said. And they had a lot of interest into that one. It was also 2/3 the size of the Great Pyramid in Giza. So, that's really fascinates me where, sure, I would spend a few $1,000 to go fly down and hang out and, do an expedition like that. And also for anybody that is really into the Antarctic and all of everything behind that, Brad Olson's also putting on, trying to format something together right now. Brad comes with, again, here's a guy of significance, 19 books. Jim has 29 books on.
Right.
I mean, how do you have time to, think of life when you're writing all that? But they're going to do an expedition back to the Antarctic for an archaeological expedition. Same with the police. So here we have two rock star human beings getting ready to start to conquer the world back, to go to discover and try to put together the things that have been talked about and prove or disprove them. And we're going to have to take the information as it comes that way. But not that I take anything off what Brad's intentions are to do, because I'm all for him to do it, 100%. But something about Belize, and I'm not taking any sides here. When you know that no man has had his hand to touch it yet, just intrigues me a little bit. That's the weight of the balancer for me. What do you think about that?
What I think, what you're talking about in Belize, I believe that there's some type of curse that maybe there had to be people who touched it and they got messed up pretty bad. My question is, this is what I suggest, is that they bring somebody that knows how to speak Belize. You know what I mean? Because, or ancient Egyptian. Well, ancient Egypt, because if you go in to the pyramids and you start talking English, they ain't going to understand what you're freaking saying. You know what I mean? That's just like if you go over to Germany or Romania. You just can't go in and start asking questions in American. You have to have somebody there that could talk that language. I think it would be a better response for that. But what do you think, Michael? Just put yourself right there with that expedition there to Belize. If you were there, what would you expect?
Well, first, let's go to the language. Address that. It used to be occupied Britain. So it was Britain and begins with an H, Honduras. It was like that type of language, intermixture language. Now it's completely English. Just to keep that. When you go to Egypt, they have people on site who do speak languages. Do you know that NASA owns the rights to the inside of the pyramid?
Are you? How?
Because
How?
they do, brother. They just
Wow.
do. Why do you let me tell you something. These curators and all these museum people and whatnot,
Uh-huh.
they were all in on whatever United States said.
Right.
They were all
Uh,
in. What are you laughing, giggling about?
Holly says, and this is so true. Holly says we could call you Indiana Michael,
Mm,
like
well,
Indiana Jones.
no, I'm just explaining as I learn from other people. And I feel that the information's 100% valid.
Yes.
Yeah, you could maybe call me that, I guess, but that would be insulting me because I'm bigger than just Indiana. I talk about a
we
lot
call
of things. I study a lot of things, but getting
we'll call
getting
you we'll call you American Mike. There you go.
I, I thought to myself every night I'm coming on with a different name. I'm so tired of them bothering me just because of last night me and you had a discussion on AIC America in Crisis. I had 5 violations plus I had a spreadsheet of violations and just what some of my sentencings were. It just blew me away.
Right.
Hey, Susan Haddix, how are you? So yeah, I mean, so first off, we can take the language out of the picture. Secondly, Jim and his constituents broke bread with these people already. They
Okay.
had meetings. They had meetings with everybody necessary, and they were granted permission to do this. And they said, in all the books and everything that they hold in their culture, no one has been to these places yet. So what they did was they hired people from their own that village because they want them to prosper. And while they want them to prosper, and while they're trying to raise some funds and get back over, which they were just there 2 weeks ago, but Jim said he didn't go, but they were carrying on for him in his place because his schedule was full. And the more details were within that. So I would suggest to anybody, if you listen to the last 20 minutes of Jim Goodall and me the other night, which by the way, the views were into the thousands. Thank you everybody for listening and supporting, because I work hard to bring on the most intelligent
Yes, you do.
that I
Yes, you
can.
do.
I really do try. I'd rather have nobody and bring on somebody. But and I don't say that with ignorance. I really don't. But sometimes what we talk about is so questionable. I may say the wrong thing to people, and I'm better off. Did your mother ever say to you, "If you got nothing good to say, keep your mouth shut"? You're
Yes,
better
all
off
the
having.
time, brother. All the
Yeah, I might
time.
make that mistake. Put my own foot in my mouth. But no. So look, yeah, I get where you're coming from. But imagine now. So on one site, there's 3 pyramids. Then there's one adjacent, and then I think he called the one that they call G is separate from it.
Okay.
But they already started paying the people in this community. They just put a road in not so long ago. They're just touching base into this area. The road was just put in within the past several years, I believe. And nobody's touched it. They don't, it's like they don't. And I even asked Jim, I said, why do you suppose the people that are there, the Berry, they just don't have it in them to go out like what you see in the wet in the West, deep into the sands, where there's grave robbing everywhere.
Right.
So we do know one of the reasons why he's going has to do with something of a crystal skull. Secondly, because he and Bob Lazar were friends before Bob Lazar ever worked at Area 51.
Oh wow, really?
So imagine that. He's friends with John Lear, gets introduced to Bob Lazar at John's house. They go develop film, and then they start talking. And the first thing he tells Jim is, can you believe John? He comes from a family of reputable engineer. His father, the inventor of the Lear jet. I mean, we're talking pristine, big name people with intelligence. He says, people are going to think this guy's crazy. He's talking about UFOs. Bob never believed in them until he got handed papers there and they told him to work on them. Now, here's the catch-22 to that. And the documentation that I can talk about, because Jim told it to me firsthand. If you don't know this, the sports model that he worked on, the Element 115.
Okay.
was a specimen dug up at an archaeological dig that was taken to the hangar, and that one there was an ancient craft.
Wow. Wow.
And that's why I think there are some roots that may be tied in to create enough speculation to say, let's go look in here. Because if the approachment was done as a burial chamber, some of these kings and these higher up people, chiefs, tribes, they were buried with ships.
Right.
They were buried with treasures. They were also maybe buried with other types of crafts and ships. So I think that's part of the reason that Jim's so fascinated to get there. But it's more than that. It will reward the whole community of these people there,
Right.
because they're not looking to jump on the goods. That's not why they want to put education into place with the fines. They also, while it's being done, want to televise it into all the schools, or at least create a community center where all the children can watch as they do step-by-step process of going in.
That would be awesome. That'd be just like Oak Island, you know.
But maybe
Cindy,
even different, yeah.
Cindy says, "Wow, fascinating information."
Yeah,
It
especially
is.
when you think about the fact that Bob was privileged to know that craft he was working on was of ancient descent.
And did
How old does that
did
mean
they,
everything is, you know?
right? But did they have to, after he got done working on that craft, did the government come in and take all his notes? Did they take what he did and not share it with nobody?
Well, you know, I told Jim to tell Bob I said hello. He's a hard guy to get it to you know, but let's just say I'm persistent.
I
And
know you are.
I might be able to tell you guys something into the very, very near future. But here's the thing: they try to destroy his life.
Okay.
Bob knew when they were test flying these things. He told people when to go out, when you would see them, when you could watch them. John Lair was there, George Knapp was there, Jerry Corbell knows about it, but that's a whole different topic there. And Jim, and if you wanted to see them test flying these, we could call them reversed ours or factually theirs.
Mhm.
Some other people, let's just say.
Right.
So he got kind of like busted for being out there when they felt he shouldn't have been out there.
Okay.
And they made threats to him that scared him. And that's when he went public on the news, when news was still good. And he was protected behind the news. And he told the news that he was there and that we were protecting what he knew of was 9 spacecrafts
Wow.
that were there in the hangar. And he was working on one, and he exposed the element 115, which was the power source. And something even bigger is, I don't know if he was whispering this to me and didn't realize we were still on the air. And I'm not saying that he made an error in judgment, but
Right.
something big's going to happen. I know that. I know there's a 3-segment type of movie coming out with Bob in it that's going to go from start to finish on everything. But Jim told me that he has tickets for himself and for any friend that he wants to bring, because the star of the show is going to be Bob Lazar. And Jim is one of his closest friends of 35, 40 years. But what they're going to do is they're going to, this is speculation of, a demonstration of something that Bob built. Now, the Rocket Man could build anything he wants.
Right.
He's like David Avar. I believe that's how you say it, Advar. Same way, Rocket Man. And just maybe the way I got it, there will be some type of model with just enough of element 115 from somewhere or somehow made, and we might all see something take place in front of us.
That would be so sweet, dude. But let me ask you this question, if you can answer it. How did they come up with the word element 115? How did they come up with that?
Well, they're working around other elements, I believe, and there were other things called element, blah 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 blah. And I don't know. I really can't. I didn't ask that question for a definition of how or why
Right.
Bob would have did that. I know a lot about Bob. I mean, I know an awful lot about Bob because I've followed interviews. I listened to the man's words, but that is something there that was I've never heard asked that he answered to say to him, But we do know it's a product that's very complicated, probably not exactly from here.
Right. Ah, okay. Now, another question. Do you think with all the guts, or for how high they are on the chain with UFOs and stuff like that, do the government kind of like fear them? I don't want to say the word fear. I want to say, are they afraid to step on their toes?
Are you referring to the others?
Yes, Bob and
Aliens?
no, 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 not aliens. Bob and Jim and who you were
Well, no,
just
they
talking
weren't.
about.
They weren't afraid to jump on Bob Lazar's toes. They destroyed all his credibility. They went to his college. He went to MIT. Jim himself proved that he had a diploma from MIT hanging on his wall. That he did graduate, in fact, as a physicist. And they removed the fact that he ever worked for the Navy. I believe that's what Jim told me. Maybe it was Army, but I believe it was the Navy, and that's who he was hired in through to. And they made it look like he never worked there, but yet, Jim also had a copy of his W-2 and took it to a command officer, like in the Treasury Department that handled
Right.
payroll, and he got in a lot of trouble for having that document.
Oh wow.
And he was basically asked to leave the office and never talk about this again.
Wow.
So we know he worked there.
Yeah.
Other people have now since come forth. Many people are gone. Not the same leaderships are there. When it comes to skunk work and Northwood and all these other Groom Lake, and they have great fancy names that people can't remember.
Holly got a question for you.
Oh, she does? Well, I
Yeah,
don't know
she
if I
said.
can answer because remember, keep in mind, I go by the best I can on firsthand knowledge, not by interviews. But go
Right.
ahead.
Michael, how do you keep all this info in your head? It boggles my mind.
I was the dumbest child growing up. Truth of the story is, I only went two years into my ninth year of high school, and why was because I knew everything that was put in front of me. And don't ask me how I knew. Gut instinct. And questions that I asked back to the teacher that got me detention because I told them, prove it to me. And they could never prove it to me. And I was considered a smart mouth. And I decided I didn't belong there. So I went into the world and I worked from at the age of just turning 15. And finally, my father signed me out of school a couple months before my 16th birthday, kept me protected behind some judges. So I went and go to juvie, juvenile court for missing school. But I wasn't really missing school. I mean, he wrote the courts a letter and went to a couple judges that he knew because he was head of the Teamsters and he was pretty high up in the city of Pittsburgh, Department of City and stuff through his career. So he knew a few people and they kind of protected me. Just say he's a long haired kid, just lost a little bit. He's going to work for his dad. And they kind of like blanketed it, the situation. So I was kind of actually really stupid, but book smart stupid because the books were a lie and they didn't want to prove anything to me, nor could they prove anything to me because I would go to the library and I would find something else that would contradict what they told me. You know how you would go do an essay report. Well, I would go and to see how smart my teacher was, I would copy word for word out of the book and turn it in. Here's your 100 words. And Michael, that was a brilliant analogy you did, was it? And you're supposed to know this. So I just felt like, I don't know. I got fascinated into many things. And I was at that age. out of school at 15 and working, but I was watching some of the earliest shows on TV that speculated about, the abominable snowman and ufology and Bigfoot and things like that. And then I started having some odd experiences in life, that I couldn't explain that happened in front of me. And it wasn't that I could move a pencil with my mind or nothing, but certain things did happen to me. And one of them was actually a pen like this. And one day I was really, really mad. And I went like this and the pen moved. And I thought to myself, what the hell happened? There was no wind, and the pen moved. And so I started to think to myself, what does this mean? And I caught some shows, and there wasn't a lot of information at all on this 50 years ago. I mean, I'm 65 now. So, think about it. At the age of 15, 65 now, there just wasn't. And I don't know. And I'm not saying I could do that all the time, but there was a few things that happened in my life that shouldn't have been able to happen. Another one was my brother goofing off with a Honda Civic on a jack in my father's gas station. And the car started to teeter-tot. I was about 145 pounds, very lean, kind of a nice looking guy.
Not
really.
There's that $50 I promised you for saying that.
I took the front of the car and threw it to the side. Seriously, I really did. I joked not with you. So, I mean, and then I started to look at the skies, what's in the skies. I was observing things. We didn't have satellites like we have now. We have thousands of things up there that were never up there before. We didn't have chemtrails in the sky. I was watching things move around. It didn't make sense to me that no one was talking about. And here's the craziest part of it all. I meet Stanton Friedman by putting gas in his car.
Wow. Yeah, you shared me this story. Yeah. It's a good story, guys.
Yeah. So imagine these footsteps in my life, even to where I am now, talking to the guy that broke the story on Area 51, me doing work with him the other day. And he asked me, why are you doing it? And Mike, and I was like, step by step, I'm not done. I want to keep going. I want to go as far as I can go, but not because I want prestige. It's because I have this desirability for the fascinate, just like everybody here does. Mm-hmm. We want to know a little bit more. Is God real? Does God exist? How does he play a part into this? I mean, look, I'm not questioning anybody. I'm not trying to bring up a negative narrative, but I have all the same questions that everybody else does at the same time. But at the same time, I have a faith in creation, of a creator, of a source, of something, not a book, but of a physical component, whether you can see by eye or not. Right. Something played a part to it. I don't know what it is. I'm still looking for all these same answers that we all are. And it's fun. But how do I keep it all in my head? I don't know. I just, every day I wake up, I find more. Sometimes I laugh at the shit that I find, I truthfully. But I've talked to a lot of good people. I really have. A couple things. If I could get into my old computer, I have emails from some people that I would like to put in frames. I would like to go in it. I saved it. The computer's still here, because I did talk to these people. I had conversations with them. They're no longer with us. And they were rock stars in ufology and other theology type messages. If one day somebody is willing to sit with me long enough where we can connect it up and go through my AOL mail. That's how long ago.
Oh my God, dude, that's old.
And I even had some on that was crypted through messages through Spectrum Computer because I worked there, and they were saved on my IP number that I had there, and I have that motherboard. And I had some fascinating conversations going back and forth, talking to people. And I would love to be able to just put them on the wall because they're their words. And some of them were never, ever told to publicly the people. And that's why I can go, even now in front of me, I've already started this month's books.
Wow.
There's around 200 pages here full already for what I did the last 45 days. Behind me in boxes, I probably have enough to write 15 books. But like Jim, who has written 29, said, Michael, what I want you to do is go back and start at 50 years back, and I want you to call it that. I was like, okay, I can do that, sir. Thank you. But no, I mean, I don't know. I forget more than I ever talk about. At the end of a conversation, a lot of us probably say to people, I wish I would have thought of that while I was on. It would have made it so
Yep.
much more, And I don't even do it. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I have those moments, where I can just and boom, it sounds really good, and it's like, you leave people a little bit awestruck. But I don't try to be that. It's just that when those moments happen, they're there. I don't take them and TikTok them. That's what a lot of people do. They break down their information and they go for their firing points, and they put their firing points up. And then people say, oh man, I got to follow him. I don't want to follow for those reasons. I want to follow for reasons, I guess, that are more practical, because I want to be down to earth with everybody else.
And you are, Holly, I hope.
Hey, we didn't take our commercial break.
No, we're just going to go straight through. Well, no, we'll do a 70-second, and then we'll finish.
Yeah, we better do it, because you owe Carnation. And while we're doing that, to all my friends over there at Loaded Gun Coffee, I love it, brother.
Thank you, Loaded Gun.
Yeah,
I need their email so we can
stay armed.
Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to take our 70-second break. Got to go to the bathroom. You got to have a cigarette. You got to run, do something. And we'll see you back in 70 seconds. Hey, welcome back to Into the Night with me, Sean Kelly, and my special guest, American Michael Anthony. I want to thank Carnation again for sponsoring this, my show tonight, and they also sponsor my Sunday night show. Sunday nights from 8:10 to 9:10 p.m. So, thank you, Carnation. Seriously. And thank you for that. And thank you for that company with the guns for the coffee. What's the name of that company again?
Loaded Gun Coffee.
Loaded Gun Coffee.
And they're military guys.
Cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to see the best happen for people who work hard. Yes. And if you're in the military and you've got to face the reality of that, they're hard workers already. So when I heard about them, I was like, I'm going to try their coffee, and I did. And I thought to myself, well, this is just as good as some of these, I mean, I'm not a coffee expert. I'm not, but I liked it. I'll just say I liked it. And I said to the one dude, because something just happened. Like, that's the way my life works. Things come in front of me when I think about them, and I don't know why that is. Same as if I want a parking spot out front of a place, 99% of the time, if I think about it, I get there, there's an open spot. And it's not always, but it does happen quite frequently when I do it. And it was kind of like that. And I says, hey, if you got any products, man, send them to me or something. And I don't want nothing for free. And I'll help you advertise on my shows as often as I can remember to do so. Last night, I forgot. Sorry about that, Loaded Gun friends. But stay armed. Check them out. They have a great website. And you really are working with people in the United States.
Yes. What's the name of that for our people out there?
Loaded Gun Coffee.
Loaded Gun Coffee. Okay.
Yeah, just as it says
Also,
right on the label.
uh, I like Loaded Gun Coffee. I
Yeah.
am going to give them a call.
So yeah, they sent me
Cindy,
some cups and hats and stuff, and they were just really, really. And then they offered me 20% off anything that's sold in my area, and I was like, no, 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 I don't want that. I says, please take all proceeds and help your people, help vets, um,
right.
do something for the kids for Christmas. And they were like, wow, I can't believe you would say that. I told Ted Nugent's wife the same thing when I used to help Charmaine. I was like, yeah, I helped her with her product line for a long time. She doesn't talk to me no more. And I don't know why.
Hmm.
I never accepted any products, no gratuities for doing anything. And I told them the same thing. And they were like flabbergasted at the fact that I wanted nothing to do it.
I know that takes a special kind of person, and you are that. Cindy Simpson says, "My son loves Loaded Gun Coffee."
Well, there you
So
go. So you know
no,
already.
that's my girl.
Yeah, I got
But
mine. It's just in a different cup tonight because I wanted a double cup, and the ones they sent me were a little. This is a little bit fatter, and it holds two at
mhm.
one.
But what I want to bring up to you, Mike, and you said that when you talk to Jim, and he says, you know, what happens when you finally get to where you want to be with all the stuff that you have researched? What are you going to do after that? I
Me,
mean, you're at the final part where you can go no longer finding out something about a certain topic.
life will end for me before I'm ever done doing that.
Okay. And then you probably would probably say, "Oh hell, I remember that about 20 years ago, or 75 years ago." You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
no, everybody out there, all over the world, I'm not putting you on a pedestal, Michael. I'm just telling straight out facts. Uh, I've learned so much from Mike, and he's taught me how to research. He taught me how to do my homework, and he taught me to have an open mind about a lot of things. Okay, and I'm glad that this friendship was struck up, because I just watch him in his shows, and I watch how he speaks, and I see how he comes up with this information. And honestly, Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually said I want to be just like Michael Anthony. I really did, and that's before we even got to the friendship that we have right now. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
so I'm just being honest with you guys out there. Okay, we got about 7 minutes.
Wow, that's like so crazy to hear you. Yeah, and I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Throwing out such a nice comment. Unnecessary, totally, because I try to help everybody. I always have. And I want to bring something else up real quick too, about a gentleman that I'm trying to get back into my grasp. His name was Richard Thomas out of Canada, and he was an abductee contactee. I mean, I've had fascinating conversations with this guy, and he never made the show. He canceled once, he canceled twice, and he wrote me a note, and it was because of the backlash that he was getting from people when he would put things up on his own board on his page.
Mhm.
How he was being treated by people. And the sad part is I see that in a lot of groups too. We see group
Yes,
experts. What's a group expert? Nobody's an expert until you can bring something, put it in front of my face, and nobody has. The only one who has the expertise to do that is the government, and they're not going to hand it to us because disclosure would be killing the fabric of what people believe.
right,
It's too detrimental of what they have put in place that would destroy everything about what we believe, because that's the guide that we were always given. But his name is Rich Thomas, and I'm really trying to get him back. And I got to tell you, I mean, he had pictures of what I believe are nothing less than aliens, crafts. I mean, he sent me a whole, I don't even know how to describe to you. what he did. And I don't know what he's doing right now, if he's finishing his book and getting ready to publish it, but I am so looking forward to that. And I'm hoping it
Awesome.
happens. I just wanted to say that because I never got that comment out. And I thought I'd share that. It's
I'm
like
glad you
deja
did.
vu.
Thank you,
Something
brother.
you said made me think of it. Deja vu.
Yeah. But listen, we are at the end of the show, brother. I want to thank you again for coming on tonight. And we're just going to continue the friendship that we have. I'll get you back on here again next month. And just keep up the good work, Mike.
And you just get well. And thank you, everybody who joined in. If you can share the show this evening, please do it for Sean. It also helps me a little bit. You know, there's always somebody new every day. It says, I don't even know these guys. Well, that's because the world is so big.
Yes, sir. That's
so we
true.
need to work harder in a way. But thanks for having me, and thanks for all the love. You always extend that to me in the most kindest ways, and so does everybody else. So Jeannie and Susan and Cindy and Holly and Cindy again, thanks so much. And if you have any questions, just send them to Sean, and next time I come on, he can bring them up. So if you think of something, email him. You can find him. He's on Facebook.
And so, everybody, thank you again for stopping in tonight. It was a hell of a show. It was a damn good show. And of course, I'll do my ending. Children, if you can, please go to your parents and give them a hug and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you have no children, if you have no parents, find somebody and give them a hug and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And on that note, goodbye, everybody. And I will definitely see you on Sunday. Good night, everybody.